My beloved soul, pause for a moment, because what you are about to hear is not a coincidence. This message has found you for a reason, and on July 23rd, something shifts in the spiritual realm that most people will completely miss. But not you. You were guided here because you are one of the few who is ready to understand what really happened in your life and why it had to hurt the way it did. Archangel Michael is stepping forward with a divine debriefing, not a warning, not a prediction, but a revelation. And here is the shocking truth. The pain you went through was never meant to destroy you. It was designed to extract something hidden inside of you that could not be accessed any other way. You thought you were losing everything. You thought things were falling apart beyond repair. There were nights when you questioned your worth, your direction, even your faith. And yet, what if I told you that in those exact moments, when everything felt like it was collapsing, something sacred was being written into your spirit? There was a reason doors slammed shut without explanation. There was a reason certain people walked away when you needed them most. There was a reason the weight became almost unbearable. It wasn't random. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation, but not the kind you were expecting. Archangel Michael reveals this. Something was taken from you. Yes. Opportunities, relationships, clarity, even pieces of your old self. But at the same time, something far more powerful was planted within you. Something you couldn't see because it was growing in silence beneath the surface of your pain. And this is where the truth becomes almost unbelievable. The very thing that hurt you the most is now carrying the key to your next breakthrough. You were not just surviving a hard season. You were being repositioned. Every tear, every delay, every moment of confusion, it was all part of a spiritual extraction process. Something old had to be removed so something new could take root. But here is the part that most people never realize. Just because the season is over doesn't mean the weight has left you. Many carry the pain long after the lesson has already been given. Many hold on to the memory but never uncover the meaning. And that is what keeps them stuck. That is why this moment, this exact message, is so critical. Because July 23rd marks a spiritual checkpoint. A moment where you are being invited to look back, not with sorrow but with understanding. You are not being asked to relive the pain. You are being called to decode it. Because hidden inside everything you went through is wisdom, precision, instruction. And once you see it clearly, something incredible happens. You no longer feel heavy. You no longer feel broken. You feel free. But the question is, are you ready to see what was really happening behind the scenes of your life? Because what Archangel Michael is about to reveal next will change the way you see your entire past forever. Tell me to continue, and I will take you deeper into this revelation. There is something you must understand now, something that will completely reshape how you view everything you just came through. What you experienced was not just emotional hardship or unfortunate timing. It was an unseen battle, a spiritual resistance that targeted you specifically because of what you carry within you. Archangel Michael is revealing that the weight you felt was not ordinary. It was intensified because your life is not ordinary. You wondered why things seemed harder for you than for others, why your challenges came in waves instead of moments. Why, just when you thought you had found stability, something else would shake it again. It felt unfair. It felt exhausting. And at times, it felt deeply personal. That is because it was. There are seasons where life simply flows, and then there are seasons where everything feels like opposition. This was a season of opposition. Not because you were doing something wrong, but because you were getting too close to something right. Every time you stepped toward growth, resistance met you. Every time you tried to rise, something tried to pull you back. And over time, it created a pattern that made you question yourself. But Archangel Michael is making this clear: you were never the problem. The pressure you felt was a response to your potential. There was something forming within you that could not be allowed to remain hidden any longer, and that process required friction. It required stretching. It required moments where you had to stand alone and discover strength you didn't know you had. Think about it. You were placed in situations where your patience was tested beyond comfort. You were forced to release control when everything in you wanted to hold on. You had to trust without having answers. And in those moments, it felt like you were being stripped of everything that made you feel secure. But what was really happening was a separation, a refining. You were being pulled away from what was familiar so you could be aligned with what is true. The reason it felt so intense is because your spirit recognized that something major was shifting, even when your mind could not explain it. There were also forces that did not want you to step into this new version of yourself. Not people, not circumstances, but energies that resist transformation. And that resistance showed up in subtle ways: confusion, delays, miscommunication, emotional heaviness. It wasn't always loud or obvious, but it was persistent. Archangel Michael stood with you in those moments, even when you didn't feel it. Every time you chose not to give up, every time you kept going despite the uncertainty, you were breaking through layers that had been holding you back for far longer than you realize. And here is something even deeper. The battle was not just about where you were, it was about where you are going. Because the next chapter of your life requires a level of clarity, strength, and discernment that could only be built through what you just endured. You were being trained, not punished. Prepared, not rejected. Strengthened, not abandoned. That is why certain things had to be removed so forcefully. That is why comfort was interrupted. That is why illusions had to break. Because where you are going, you cannot carry confusion. You cannot carry attachments that no longer serve you. You cannot carry the version of yourself that existed before this season. And even though it didn't feel like it at the time, every challenge was sharpening your awareness. You began to see things differently. You started to notice patterns you once ignored. You felt a deeper sense of intuition guiding you, even when everything around you felt uncertain. This was not accidental. This was activation. Now, as you stand at this point, whether you realize it or not, you are no longer the same person who entered that season. Something within you has changed. Something has awakened. And the battle that once overwhelmed you is now revealing its purpose. But there is still one piece missing, one truth that will finally connect everything you went through and show you why it had to unfold the way it did. And when that truth is revealed, you will no longer question your past, you will understand it. There is a moment in every difficult season that feels like the end. Not a gentle ending, not a peaceful transition, but a breaking point where everything inside you says, I cannot carry this anymore. And for you, that moment was real. It was intense. It was overwhelming. But what you didn't realize at the time is that this breaking point was not your collapse, it was your turning point. Archangel Michael is revealing something that may completely shift how you see that moment. What felt like everything falling apart was actually everything being forced into alignment. The things you were trying to hold together were not meant to continue in the form you knew them. They had to break, because they were built on foundations that could not support where you are going next. You tried to fix things. You tried to hold on longer than you should have. You gave your energy, your time, your heart, hoping that somehow it would stabilize. But the more you tried to control it, the more it slipped away. And that created frustration, confusion, even grief. Because it felt like you were losing something important. But listen closely, you were not losing what was meant for you. You were being separated from what could no longer go with you. There is a difference between something ending and something being removed. When something ends naturally, it fades. But when something is removed by divine force, it feels sudden, sharp, and often painful. That is because it is not based on your readiness, it is based on your calling. And your calling required a different version of you. At breaking point you experienced it stripped away illusions. It exposed truth you were avoiding. It forced you to see things as they really were, not as you hoped they could be. And while that clarity hurt, it was necessary. Because you cannot build a future on something that is not real. Archangel Michael was present in that moment, even if you didn't feel comfort. His presence was not there to stop the breaking, it was there to ensure that what remained after the breaking was pure, lined, and ready for what comes next. You may remember how everything felt uncertain, how you questioned your direction, how silence replaced answers. But in that silence, something sacred was happening. The noise had to be removed so you could hear something deeper, your inner guidance, your spiritual awareness, your truth. That moment changed you. Even if you cannot fully explain how, you began to see with different eyes. You started to feel with a deeper understanding. You became more aware of what drains you and what strengthens you. That is not accidental. That is transformation. And here's the truth that brings everything together. The breaking point was not there to destroy your life, it was there to reveal it. Everything that fell apart was showing you what was not stable. Everything that hurt was pointing you toward what needed to heal. Everything that left was creating space for something new. But many people stop here. They go through the breaking, they feel the pain, but they never extract the wisdom. They carry the memory, but not the meaning. And that is what keeps the weight attached to them. You are not meant to carry this weight anymore. This is your moment to look back at that breaking point, not with regret, not with anger, but with awareness. Because hidden inside that moment is a message that was meant specifically for you. And once you truly understand it, the pain loses its power over you. Type "I release the weight" in the comments if you feel this shift happening within you. Blessing code 739 has just been activated over your journey. And as this truth settles into your spirit, recognize this: what you are receiving right now is not just for you alone. There are countless souls still trapped in their breaking point, still searching for meaning in their pain. When you choose to support this mission, through super thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are helping this light reach them. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is not just a verse. It is a living promise being activated through your obedience. Say it within yourself: I am part of this divine work. Let your giving become a seed that multiplies healing across lives you may never see. As you release, so shall increase flow back into you. Step into this moment and act. Listen carefully, because this is where everything begins to come into focus. The pain you experienced was not empty. It was not wasted. It was carrying something within it, something you could not see while you were in the middle of it. And now, as you stand outside of that season, Archangel Michael is guiding you to uncover what was hidden beneath the surface all along. There were lessons placed inside your pain, but they were not obvious. They were not written in clear words or easy understanding. They were encoded in your experiences, revealed through patterns, and whispered through moments of discomfort. And because of that, you may have missed them while you were simply trying to survive. But now, you are no longer in survival mode. Now, you are in a position to observe. Think back to the moments that hurt the most, not to relive them, but to recognize what they were showing you. There were situations where you gave too much and received too little. That was not just disappointment, it was teaching you the importance of boundaries. There were times when you trusted someone who ultimately let you down. That was not just betrayal, it was sharpening your discernment. Even the moments when you felt lost, when you didn't know what direction to take, were not empty. They were creating space for you to stop relying on external validation and begin listening to something deeper within yourself. Something quieter, but far more accurate. Archangel Michael is revealing that every painful experience carried a specific instruction. Not punishment, not failure, instruction. But here is the reason you couldn't see it before. Pain demands your attention. When you are hurting, your focus is on the feeling, not the meaning. You are trying to get through it, not decode it. And that is why so many people miss the wisdom completely. They leave the season carrying only the wound, not the lesson. You are not meant to do that. You are being called now to separate what happened from what it taught you, because they are not the same thing. The event itself may have been painful, confusing, even unfair. But the lesson within it is precise, valuable, and necessary for where you are going next. There were patterns that repeated themselves in your life. Similar situations, similar outcomes, different faces. That was not coincidence. That was a signal pointing to something within you that needed awareness. And once that awareness is gained, the pattern no longer needs to repeat. This is how transformation happens. You do not grow by avoiding pain. You grow by understanding it, by extracting the truth hidden inside it and allowing that truth to guide your future decisions. That is how you break cycles. That is how you move forward without carrying the same weight. Archangel Michael is showing you that your pain was not random. It was targeted. Each experience was aligned with something you needed to learn, something you needed to see, something you needed to release. And now that you are on the other side, you have access to that understanding. But only if you choose to look at it differently. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you are being invited to ask, "What did this reveal to me?" That shift changes everything. It turns you from a victim of your circumstances into a student of your experiences. And when you become a student, you gain power. Because knowledge removes confusion. Clarity removes fear. And understanding removes the emotional charge that once held you back. This is the moment where your past begins to serve you instead of weigh you down. The pain no longer controls you when you understand its purpose. The memory no longer hurts you when you extract its meaning. And the season you just came through no longer defines you, it refines you. But there is still something that many people overlook, even after gaining this awareness. Something that quietly holds them back, even when they believe they have moved on. It is not the pain itself, it is what they are still carrying because of it. And that is what must be addressed next. There is something still attached to you, not in a way that is obvious, not in a way that you can easily point to, but in a way that quietly influences how you feel, how you think, and how you move forward. And this is what Archangel Michael is bringing into your awareness now. The weight you are still carrying, even though the season that created it has already ended. You may believe you have moved on. You may tell yourself that you are past it, that you are stronger now, that it no longer affects you. But if you look closely, there are moments where the past still echoes. Moments where hesitation appears when you are about to trust again. Moments where fear quietly steps in when something new begins to unfold. Moments where you hold back, not because you want to, but because something within you remembers what it felt like before. That is the weight. It is not the event itself anymore. It is the imprint it left behind. Archangel Michael is revealing that pain has two layers. The first is the experience itself, the situation, the loss, the disappointment. That part has already passed. But the second layer is what remains after. The beliefs, the emotional residue, the silent expectations that something similar could happen again. And this second layer is what many people unknowingly carry into their next season. You may have learned the lesson. You may understand what happened. But if the emotional weight is still there, it will shape your future without your permission. It will influence your choices, your reactions, your openness. It will make you guarded where you are meant to be free. This is why some people enter new opportunities but cannot fully receive them. This is why some people meet new connections but cannot fully trust them. This is why progress feels slow, even when everything around them is changing. Because they are still carrying something that belongs to a season that is already over. Archangel Michael is calling you to release this weight, not by forcing yourself to forget, not by pretending it didn't happen, but by consciously choosing not to carry what no longer serves you. There are emotions that were valid in that moment: pain, anger, confusion, sadness. But those emotions were meant to move through you, not stay within you. They were signals, not permanent states. And yet, when they are not released, they settle. They become part of your inner environment. They shape how you interpret new situations. They create a filter through which you see everything that comes next. This is why release is not optional. It is necessary. You are not meant to walk into your next chapter with the same emotional weight from your last one. You are not meant to approach new beginnings with old fears. You are not meant to limit your future based on your past. But releasing this weight requires awareness. You must recognize what you are still holding on to. Is it the fear of being hurt again? Is it the belief that things will not work out? Is it the expectation that something will go wrong? Is it the habit of overthinking, overprotecting, or holding back? These are not random. These are traces of what you went through, and Archangel Michael is guiding you now to gently let them go. Not through force, but through understanding. When you see clearly that these patterns are tied to a season that has already ended, you begin to loosen their hold over you. You begin to realize that they are not your truth, they are your past. And your past no longer has authority over your present. This is where true freedom begins. Not just in knowing what happened, but in no longer being affected by it in the same way. You are being invited now to step into a lighter version of yourself. A version that carries wisdom, but not weight. A version that remembers but is not restricted. A version that moves forward with clarity instead of caution. But before that can fully happen, there is one final step in this process. One powerful shift that separates those who stay stuck from those who truly move forward. It is not just about releasing the weight, it is about transforming what remains into something that empowers you instead of holding you back. There is a sacred process happening within you right now, even if you cannot fully feel it yet. It is subtle but powerful. It is quiet but life-changing. Archangel Michael calls this the divine extraction, the moment where you begin to separate the wisdom from the pain, the truth from the emotion, the lesson from the experience. And this process is what finally sets you free. Up until now, everything you went through has been intertwined. The memory of what happened is still connected to how it made you feel. The lesson is buried beneath the emotion. The clarity is hidden behind the weight. And because of that, every time you think about the past, you don't just remember it, you feel it again. But that is not how it is meant to remain. You are being guided now to gently pull these things apart, to look at your past with a new awareness, where you can hold on to the wisdom without carrying the pain. Because they are not the same thing. The pain was temporary. The wisdom is permanent. Archangel Michael is revealing that memory and meaning must be separated. The memory is what happened. The meaning is what it taught you. And once you extract the meaning, the memory loses its emotional charge. It becomes something you can observe without being pulled back into it. This is where healing deepens. Think about a moment that once triggered strong emotions within you. Now imagine being able to look at that same moment with calmness, with understanding, with clarity. Not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer controls you. That is the result of this extraction. You are not erasing your past. You are reclaiming your power from it. And this requires a conscious shift. Instead of replaying what happened and feeling the same emotions again, you begin to ask yourself, what did this teach me about myself? What did this reveal about others? What did this show me about what I need, what I deserve, and what I will no longer accept? When you ask these questions, something begins to change. Your focus moves away from the pain and toward the insight. And the more you focus on the insight, the weaker the emotional grip becomes. This is not something that happens all at once. It is a process. But it is a process that leads to freedom. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that every experience you went through has already given you something valuable. Even if it didn't feel like it at the time. Even if it still feels unclear in some areas. The wisdom is there. It is waiting to be recognized. And once you recognize it, you no longer need to carry the pain as a reminder. Because the lesson itself becomes your guide. This is how you move forward without baggage. You don't forget what happened. You don't deny that it affected you. But you also don't allow it to define your future. You take what was meant to strengthen you, and you leave behind what was only meant to pass through you. This is the moment where your past begins to transform into something powerful. Instead of seeing it as something that hurt you, you begin to see it as something that prepared you. Instead of seeing it as something that took from you, you begin to see what it gave to you. Strength, awareness, discernment, depth. These are not small things. These are the very qualities that will shape your next chapter. And as this extraction continues, you will notice something shifting within you. A lightness, a sense of clarity, a feeling that you are no longer carrying what once weighed you down. That is how you know it is working. But there is another truth that must be accepted in order for this process to fully complete. A truth that may feel uncomfortable at first, but is necessary for your growth. You cannot go back. Not because you are being denied, but because you have outgrown what once was. There is a truth that many resist, not because it is unclear, but because it requires letting go of something familiar. And the truth is this: you cannot go back to who you were, where you were, or what once felt comfortable. Not because you failed, not because you are being punished, but because you have outgrown it in ways you may not yet fully understand. Archangel Michael is making this clear. The doors that closed in your life were not temporary obstacles. They were final alignments. They were not meant to reopen, no matter how much you revisit them in your thoughts. And the reason is simple. What is behind those doors no longer matches who you are becoming. There is a version of you that existed before this hard season. A version that tolerated certain things, overlooked certain patterns, accepted certain limitations. That version of you moved through life with a different level of awareness. But that version no longer exists. You have changed. And because you have changed, the places, people, and situations that once felt normal will now feel misaligned. Even if you try to return to them, something within you will resist. It may not always be obvious, but it will be there. A quiet discomfort, a sense that something is off, a feeling that you are no longer where you are meant to be. This is not confusion. This is clarity. Archangel Michael is showing you that growth creates separation. Not because you are meant to lose everything, but because you are meant to move into what is truly aligned with you. And alignment cannot exist if you are holding on to what no longer fits. There may be moments where you feel tempted to go back, to reconnect with what is familiar, to revisit what once felt safe. And in those moments, it may seem easier than moving forward into the unknown. But what feels here is not always what is right, because going back would require you to shrink yourself. It would require you to ignore what you now see clearly. It would require you to pretend that you have not grown. And that is not something your spirit will allow. You may have already noticed this. Situations that once felt comfortable now feel draining. Conversations that once made sense now feel shallow. Patterns that once went unnoticed now stand out clearly. This is not coincidence. This is transformation. You have been elevated in your awareness. And with that elevation comes responsibility. The responsibility to honor what you now know. The responsibility to choose differently. The responsibility to move forward, even when it feels uncertain. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that the past is not your destination. It is your reference point. It shows you where you have been, but it does not determine where you are going. There is a reason why certain connections ended. There is a reason why certain paths closed. There is a reason why certain opportunities did not work out the way you expected. It is not because they were meant to return later. It is because they served their purpose, and that purpose is complete. Holding on to them now would only delay what is waiting for you. And what is waiting for you requires space. Space that cannot be created if you are still reaching backward. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust that what has left your life has done so for a reason. Trust that what is ahead of you is not less. It is more aligned, more supportive, more in tune with who you have become. You are not being left behind. You are being led forward. But moving forward requires a decision. A conscious choice to stop looking back with longing and start looking ahead with clarity. A decision to release what was, so you can fully receive what is coming. This is not always easy. There may be emotions attached to what you are leaving behind. Memories, attachments, moments that still hold meaning. And it is okay to acknowledge them. It is okay to honor what they once were. But you must also recognize that they belong to a version of your life that is no longer active. You are in a new season now. And this new season is not asking you to carry the past. It is asking you to build something new with everything you have learned. But how do you know that this shift is real? How do you know that your season has truly changed? There are signs. Clear, undeniable signs that something within you and around you is no longer the same. And once you recognize them, you will no longer question whether you are ready to move forward. You will know. There is a shift happening within you right now, and whether you fully recognize it or not, it is undeniable. Something has changed. Something has lifted. Something has quietly realigned itself beneath the surface of your life. And Archangel Michael is revealing that this is not your imagination. This is your confirmation. Your season has changed. You are no longer in the same space you once were. Even if your surroundings look similar, even if certain aspects of your life still appear unchanged, the energy within you is different. And that difference is the first and most powerful sign that you have crossed into a new phase. You may have noticed it in subtle ways, The things that once overwhelmed you no longer carry the same weight. Situations that once drained you no longer hold your attention. You find yourself stepping back instead of reacting, observing instead of absorbing. This is not detachment. It is elevation. Archangel Michael is showing you that your spirit has matured through everything you have experienced. You are no longer operating from the same emotional patterns. You are no longer responding from the same wounds. You are beginning to move with awareness instead of impulse. That is a sign of transformation. Another sign is the way your desires are shifting. What you once chased may no longer feel important. What once excited you may now feel empty. And in its place there is a deeper longing, not for something external, but for something meaningful, something aligned, something real. This is not confusion. This is clarity emerging. When your season changes, your priorities change with it. You begin to seek peace over chaos, depth over surface, truth over illusion. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself in the same ways. You no longer chase validation from places that cannot provide it. Instead, you begin to move with intention. There is also a change in what you tolerate. Things that you once accepted without question now stand out clearly. You notice when something feels off. You sense when something is not aligned. And instead of ignoring it, you acknowledge it. This is discernment. Archangel Michael had been sharpening this within you throughout your entire journey. Every experience you went through was building this awareness. And now, it is becoming active. It is guiding you, protecting you, helping you navigate your next steps with greater clarity. You may also feel a sense of distance from your past, not in a cold or disconnected way, but in a way that feels natural, like you are no longer emotionally tied to it in the same way. The memories are still there, but they no longer define you. They no longer pull you back. This is healing. And perhaps the most powerful sign of all is this: you are beginning to trust yourself again. After everything you went through, there may have been moments where you doubted your judgment, where you questioned your decisions, where you felt unsure of your own direction. But now, something is shifting. You are starting to feel a quiet confidence rising within you. Not loud, not forceful, but steady. This is alignment. Archangel Michael is confirming that you are no longer who you were. You have moved through the storm, and now you are standing in a different space. A space where you can see more clearly, feel more deeply, and choose more wisely. This is your new beginning. But with this new beginning comes a choice. You can either step fully into this new version of yourself, or you can hesitate and remain partially connected to what you have already outgrown. And this is where your power lies. You are not being forced into anything. You are being invited. Invited to trust the shift. Invited to embrace the change. Invited to move forward without looking back. Type "I embrace the NEW season" in the comments if you feel this transformation within you. Blessing code 8821 has just been released over your path. And as you stand in this new season, understand this sacred truth: your transformation is not only for you. It is a light meant to reach others who are still walking through their darkness. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are helping this message travel further than your own voice ever could. The word declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and this is that moment where your seed becomes someone else's breakthrough. Speak it within your spirit. I am a vessel for this divine flow. Let your giving become a river that carries healing, clarity, and truth into lives that are still searching. Step into this calling and act now. There is a version of you emerging now that has never existed before. Not a return to who you once were, not a repaired version of your past self, but something entirely new. And Archangel Michael is revealing that this is the true purpose behind everything you have endured. You were not just meant to survive the storm. You were meant to be transformed by it. This is the moment where you begin to reclaim your identity. For so long, your sense of self may have been shaped by external things, by relationships, by expectations, by roles you were placed into or chose to carry. You adapted. You adjusted. You gave parts of yourself to maintain balance, to keep things working, to avoid conflict or loss. And in doing so, pieces of your true identity may have become hidden beneath those layers. But that version of you have been stripped away. Everything that was not truly aligned with your core has been challenged, tested, and in many cases, removed. And while that process felt painful, it served a deeper purpose. It cleared the space for you to reconnect with who you actually are. Not who you were told to be. Not who you felt you needed to be. But who you are at your essence. Archangel Michael is guiding you to recognize this truth. Your identity is no longer tied to what you have been through. It is not defined by your past experiences, your mistakes, your losses, or your struggles. Those things shaped you, but they do not define you. You are more than what happened to you. And now, you are beginning to feel that. There is a quiet rediscovery happening within you. You may notice it in the way you think, in the way you speak, in the way you carry yourself. There is a growing sense of self-awareness, a deeper understanding of what feels right and what does not. You are no longer seeking approval in the same way. You are no longer adjusting yourself to fit into spaces that do not honor you. You are beginning to stand in your own truth, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. This is your new identity taking form. It is not loud or forced. It does not need validation. It simply exists, steady and grounded. You are learning to trust your own voice again, to listen to your own instincts, to follow your own sense of direction without needing constant confirmation from others. And this is one of the most powerful shifts you can experience. Because once you trust yourself, everything changes. Decisions become clearer. Boundaries become stronger. Choices become more aligned. You no longer move from fear. You move from understanding. Archangel Michael is reminding you that this version of yourself has been forged through everything you have endured. The strength you carry now is not surface level. It is rooted in experience. It is built on lessons that were learned through real moments, real challenges, real growth. And because of that, it is unshakable. You are no longer the same person who once doubted, who once hesitated, who once questioned your worth. A version of you has evolved. It has expanded. It has stepped into something deeper. And yet, this process is still unfolding. Reclaiming your identity is not a single moment. It is a continuous alignment. Each day, you are choosing to show up as this new version of yourself. Each day, you are deciding to honor what you have learned, to live from what you now understand. There may still be moments of uncertainty, moments where old thoughts try to resurface, moments where you feel the pull of your past. But those moments do not define your direction anymore. They are simply reminders of how far you have come. You are not going backward. You are moving forward, even when it feels unfamiliar. And as you continue to step into this new identity, something else begins to shift. You start to see your future differently. Not through the lens of fear or doubt, but through the lens of possibility. You begin to realize that what lies ahead is not something to be afraid of. It is something to be embraced. But in order to fully step into that future, there is one final barrier that must be released. and that barrier is not your past, it is the fear of carrying it with you. There is something standing quietly between you and your next chapter, and it is not your past. It is not your circumstances. It is not even the challenges that once held you back. It is something far more subtle, something that often goes unnoticed, yet influences everything: the fear of carrying your past into your future. Archangel Michael is revealing that even after healing begins, even after clarity comes, there can still be a lingering hesitation. A quiet voice that asks, what if it happens again? A subtle resistance that holds you back from fully stepping forward. Not because you are weak, but because you remember. And that memory, if not fully transformed, can create a shadow over your next steps. You may find yourself questioning opportunities that feel right. You may feel cautious in moments where you could be open. You may hesitate when it is time to trust, to move, to expand. And it is not because you lack readiness. It is because a part of you is still trying to protect you from what you once experienced. But here is the truth that Archangel Michael wants you to understand. You are not the same person who went through this season. The version of you that experienced that pain did not yet have the awareness, the strength, the discernment that you carry now. You were learning. You were growing. You were becoming. But now, you are equipped in a way you were not before. So the fear that something will repeat itself is based on an outdated version of you. You are no longer that version. This is where your power lies, in recognizing that your past cannot repeat itself in the same way, because you will not approach it in the same way. You will see what you once missed. You will feel what you once ignored. You will choose differently where you once hesitated. That is growth. Archangel Michael is guiding you to release this fear, not by ignoring it, but by understanding it. The fear is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a signal that something important is about to happen. It is your mind's way of preparing for the unknown. But you are not stepping into the unknown without guidance. You are stepping into it with everything you have learned. Every lesson you extracted, every boundary you established, every moment of clarity you gained, it all comes with you. Not as weight, but as support. Not as limitation, but as strength. You are not starting over. You are starting from experience. And that changes everything. There is a difference between moving forward while fearing your past and moving forward while trusting your growth. One keeps you guarded. The other sets you free. You are being called now to choose freedom. To take a step without overthinking every possible outcome. To allow yourself to experience something new without expecting it to mirror what has already happened. To trust that you are capable of handling whatever comes, not because it will be perfect, but because you are prepared. This is not about becoming fearless. It is about becoming confident in your ability to navigate. Archangel Michael is reminding you that fear loses its power when you stop seeing it as a warning and start seeing it as a doorway. A doorway into expansion, into new experiences, into a version of your life that you have not yet fully explored. And yes, there may still be moments where doubt tries to appear, moments where your mind goes back to what once hurt you. But those moments do not define your direction. They are simply echoes, not instructions. You are not being guided backward. You are being led forward. And the more you take steps in that direction, the more that fear begins to fade. Not because it disappears instantly, but because it is replaced by something stronger. Trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your journey. Trust in the process that has brought you to this point. This is how you move forward without carrying emotional residue. Not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by refusing to let it dictate what happens next. You are ready. Even if it doesn't feel perfect, even if there is still uncertainty, even if there are questions that remain unanswered, you are ready. And as you begin to move forward with this understanding, something else begins to unfold. Something that makes everything you went through not only make sense but feel worth it. Because there is a reward waiting on the other side of this. There is a moment that arrives after every true season of endurance, a moment that does not announce itself loudly, but reveals itself quietly through change, through alignment, through unexpected peace. And this is the moment you are stepping into now. Archangel Michael is revealing that what lies ahead of you is not just progress, it is reward. Not a reward in the way the world defines it, not something shallow or temporary, but something deeply aligned with who you have become. Because the journey you just came through was not ordinary, and the outcome will not be ordinary either. Everything you endured, everything you released, everything you learned, it has all been leading to this. There is a restoration that is beginning to take place in your life. Not necessarily by returning what was lost in the exact same form, but by bringing something better suited for who you are now. Something that aligns with your growth, your awareness, your truth. You may begin to notice opportunities appearing that feel different, more aligned, more natural, less forced. Situations where you do not have to struggle to be understood, where you do not have to prove your worth, where things flow in a way that feels steady instead of chaotic. This is not coincidence. This is alignment responding to your transformation. Archangel Michael is showing you that what is coming into your life now is not random. It is a reflection of the work you have already done. The inner shifts you have made are now creating outer changes. The clarity you have gained is now shaping your environment. This is how true reward unfolds. It does not always arrive all at once. It comes in layers, in moments, in realizations, in connections that feel right, in doors that open without resistance, in a sense of peace that you did not have before. And perhaps the most powerful reward of all is this: you are no longer searching for what you already carry within you. There was a time when you looked outside yourself for answers, for validation, for direction. But now, something has changed. You have developed a deeper connection with yourself, a stronger sense of inner guidance, a clearer understanding of what aligns with you and what does not. This is a reward that cannot be taken from you, because it is not external, it is internal. And from this place, everything else begins to align more naturally. You no longer chase what is not meant for you. You no longer hold on to what drains you. You move with intention, with clarity, with a sense of quiet confidence. Archangel Michael is reminding you that this is what you were being prepared for. Not just to receive something new, but to be able to recognize it, to value it, to maintain it. Because without the lessons you have learned, you would not be able to fully receive what is coming. There are also blessings that may arrive in ways you did not expect. Things that come at the right time, in the right way, without the struggle you once experienced. And when they arrive, you may feel a sense of disbelief at first, a sense that it is too easy, too smooth. But this is what happens when alignment replaces resistance. You are no longer fighting against what is meant for you. You are moving with it. This does not mean that everything will be perfect. There will still be challenges, still be moments of growth, still be opportunities to learn. But the difference is this: you are no longer navigating from a place of confusion. You are navigating from a place of awareness. And that changes how everything unfolds. Archangel Michael is asking you to remain open, to receive what is coming without questioning your worthiness, to allow yourself to experience something better without expecting it to fall apart. Because this time it is different. You are different. And the life that is forming around you now is a direct reflection of that. Everything you went through has led you here, not to break you, not to hold you back, but to prepare you for something greater than you could have seen before. And as you step fully into this new chapter, there is one final message that must be received. A message that will bring peace to everything you have experienced and remind you that you are safe to move forward. Because the hardest part is truly behind you. My dear one, take a deep breath and feel this moment, because what you have just walked through is not something small. It was not just another phase. It was a defining passage in your life, a sacred transition that has quietly reshaped you from within. And now, Archangel Michael steps forward one final time to bring you the truth your spirit has been waiting to hear. The hardest part is over. You made it through what once felt impossible. There were days when you did not know how you would continue, nights when the weight felt too heavy to carry, moments when nothing made sense. But even in those times, you kept moving, even if it was slowly, even if it was silently. And that alone is something to honor. Because not everyone chooses to rise after being shaken. What you did. And now, you stand in a place where the storm no longer defines you. The confusion has cleared. The heaviness has lifted. And even if everything is not fully visible yet, there is a sense of peace beginning to settle within you. A quiet knowing that something has shifted for good. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. You are safe to move forward now. You are not walking into the future as the same person who once felt lost. You are walking forward as someone who has seen, who has learned, who has grown beyond what once held you back. And because of that, you do not need to carry the same fears, the same doubts, the same emotional weight. You are allowed to feel light again. You are allowed to trust again. You are allowed to hope again. This is not a return to who you were. It is a step into who you have become. There will be moments ahead where you will notice the difference within you. Situations that once would have shaken you will now feel manageable. Decisions that once felt confusing will now feel clear. You will begin to move with a sense of calm strength, a quiet confidence that does not need to prove itself. This is your new foundation. And from this place, everything you build will carry a different energy. Relationships will feel more aligned. Opportunities will feel more natural. Your path will begin to unfold in ways that do not require you to force or struggle in the same way as before. This is what happens when you release the baggage and carry only the wisdom. You are no longer weighed down by what happened. You are supported by what you learn. Archangel Michael is surrounding you now with protection, with clarity, with peace. You may not see it with your eyes, but you can feel it in the stillness, in the sense of calm that is beginning to grow within you. Let that peace guide you. Let that clarity lead you. Let that strength carry you forward. Because you are not alone in this next chapter. You are being guided, step by step, into something that is aligned with your highest good. And as you continue to move forward, you will begin to see why everything had to happen the way it did. Not to harm you, but to prepare you. Not to break you, but to reveal you. And now, you are ready. Type "I step forward" free in the comments if you receive this message with your whole heart. Blessing code 9912 has now been released over your life. And as this peace settles into your spirit, hear this calling clearly. What you have received is not meant to stop with you. Your soul still trapped in their storms, still searching for the light that just reached you. When you act through super thanks or give through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are sowing into a harvest of healing that God is multiplying across lives. The word speaks now. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. and this is your moment to release that seed in faith. Say within yourself, I move as a vessel for this divine work. Let your giving become oil that keeps this light burning for those still in darkness. As you give, heaven records and increase is assigned back to your path. Step forward and act now.